All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back at it again, bringing you a brand new video. And in this video, we are going to be going over the monthly time frame supply and demand zones, kind of give you my thoughts on the whole market for the year, over the majors, over the stock market, over the commodities, gold, silver, wheat, all that type of good stuff. So it's going to be, I'm guessing, 15-20 minute video. Sit back, relax. It's going to be a good one. We got lots to cover. This is a video that I would make maybe once a year because it's on the higher time frames. We're starting a brand new year, so I think it makes sense to give my analysis and my thoughts on what's going to happen. All right, so let's get into it. Now, most of my analysis is technical analysis based off of supply and demand zones, but I do believe when you're looking at the monthly time frames, giving yourself a year over year outlook on what might happen, you have to be looking at the fundamentals. You can't ignore them of what central banks are going to do, new governments coming and going, more news cycles here, right? Is inflation going to get worse or is it going to get better? What are stocks and commodities going to do? I think you have to look at this as a fundamental approach as well and put more weight to that than just the technical analysis. So definitely be on the lookout. Obviously, we know what's been going on for the last 2 years. There's probably going to be more news on COVID for the next year. That's going to be the main thing. Obviously, more money printing is going to continue to happen. Inflation will probably continue to rise. It's going to be interesting to see what happens if central banks of different countries are going to start raising their rates or decreasing their rates. They're going to try increasing, but how far can they actually increase them before potentially going to negative rates? Who knows? It's all just a big game that they're trying to play. And so you definitely have to consider that type of stuff. So I believe inflation is going to get worse. Also, the US is going to have their midterm elections coming up this year. So that's going to definitely be moving the markets. Are the Democrats going to hold the House majority or are the Republicans going to step in? Who knows? We've got to consider every country out there, what they're trying to do. So that is definitely going to bring in some volatility when the time comes later in November. Like I said, I think stocks will probably continue to rise. We'll get to that more on that later, as well as commodities. So let's get started. We are going to start with Euro USD, looking at the monthly time frame, and we are going to make our way down from there. So let's start with the monthly Euro USD, drawing out my supply and demand zones. These are going to be my zones that I'm going to keep on my chart for the rest of the year. Right now, it's just those two zones, supply above, demand below, and currently we are kind of in this range. If we want to see what's going on, we have to drop down to the weekly time frame to see different type of time frame setups, right? So personally, if prices do continue to drop, which I believe the US dollar will continue to gain strength over the next year, we will probably drop down into this tested monthly demand zone. So it's probably going to go deeper down into it. And then once it goes back down to that area of demand, I think it's a good area to potentially look for some swing long positions. And if prices do manage to go back up into this area of supply or the supply zone over here, then I believe then it's a good area to be looking for selling opportunities regarding the monthly time frame. As of now, we're kind of sitting in the middle. So you could either play the smaller time frame. So if we go down to the weekly time frame, we're obviously going to see this thing in a downtrend market. And currently we have been reacting off of this weekly demand zone in a weekly downtrend. I assume that this demand zone is going to get removed. Why? Monthly supply is in control. We are in a weekly downtrend. So we remove weekly demand zones in a weekly downtrend. That's just my thoughts. So buyers are trying to step in here. We can see that over the last month and a half since November that buyers have managed to hold and it's been going sideways. Though if there is selling pressure to the downside, and if I believe that the US dollar is going to gain strength long term, then, well, this demand zone is going to get removed and you're going to see a weaker euro. You know what I mean? And it's probably going to go back down into that monthly demand zone. But if you're looking for small day trade scalps, then sure, you're going to be looking at different time frames. But like I said, we're going to focus on monthly and weekly time frames here as well. Okay, so that's kind of my thoughts on that. We also do have this little weekly base drop. So if prices do manage to go back up into that area, I also think it's a good time to be looking for some swing short positions. Okay, so let's move on to the pound USD. On pound USD, we're probably going to see the same thing, the stronger dollar, so the pound will probably drop. As for my monthly supply, I have that drawn out. It's already gone very deep into it. And in fact, if we go down to a weekly, we could probably tighten it up a little bit. Let's just drop down to the weekly. And we could really see that's really where these sellers took control. Here on the weekly, you can see all the selling came from up here. So that's probably where you're going to get a reaction from if prices ever return, which it did, and sellers took control down. All right, so that is going to remain as my zone. Let's just widen it. For my monthly, now I'm not a big fan of these monthly zones. I don't really see these holding for too long, and I don't think they're anything special. But they're little areas that I would have drawn on my chart personally that you might see buyers step in for small periods of time, right? Because they are pretty strong black candles to the upside. So clearly there was a lot of buyers stepping in during that time. All right, so let's move to the next one. Really quickly, if you guys do enjoy this video, make sure you hit that like button. It helps me a lot. YouTube is adjusting their algorithm to value more likes now since they started removing the dislike bar. You can't see it, but I can see it only if I go into the analytics. And I don't want to have to go into my damn analytics every single time to see how many people like or dislike. It's a pain, right? So they are putting more value, more weight on the like button. So I appreciate if you guys do hit that. Thank you very much. On Aussie USD, I don't see anything that really interests me. Like, this is a chart that I would personally just skip long term. If you guys look here, what has price been doing since it began to fall? It's just begun to grind down. This isn't any strong imbalance taking over. This is just slowly grinding down. So I don't like anything in here for my supply zones. Personally, I would be looking more up in here for my monthly supply and here for my monthly supply. Now that is such a far ways away, so I'm not really too worried about this. Right now we are sitting inside this demand zone over here. So I can understand if somebody is looking for buying opportunities. Why? A lot of buyers stepped in here before for 2 very strong months. We've previously had a reaction from it. We've now gone deeper down into it. If we go down to the weekly, you will see what I mean. So here was the first touch, rallied up, went deeper down into it. So this is the last time that buyers are trying to hold this market right here. Are they going to hold? Are they not going to hold? Well, we will see about that, right? But if you are going to do any type of buying in here, I think definitely smaller time frame is the best bet, all right? This is long term. This isn't something I would trade. You know, I don't like it. So let's move on. New Zealand USD. We're going to get somewhat the same picture, but we have this area of supply and this area of monthly rally-based rally. Same demand zone as an Aussie USD. These New Zealand USD and Aussie USD, it's basically the exact same. If you see a big strong move in the Aussie, you're probably going to see it in the New Zealand as well. Very similar currencies. So I like this monthly area of demand, very strong rally to the upside. It removed a couple supply zones on the way up. So I like this area for some potential buying opportunities if prices manage to show anything. Okay. As for my supply, I can clearly see it's still holding. This supply zone originated from May 1st, 2015. So what is that, 7 years ago? It's been tested once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, and it's managed to hold each time. So I'm going to continue to leave that on my monthly time frame, right? If you're looking for these monthly time frame swing trades, we will also drop down into the weekly, where I will also draw out my weekly zones, because I also have a bunch ticked off that I want to talk to you guys really quickly about that are inside the weekly zones for like weekly 4 hour or weekly 2 hour, weekly 1 hour trades. Because maybe you don't like holding positions for, a month or 2 months time, or maybe a year's time. I know I personally don't like holding a position like that in the currency market. I'm more of like a, short-term trader for that, right? So that's my analysis on the monthly. Let's drop down to USD Canadian over here to the monthly time frame. Overall, we've just been going sideways. We have this demand holding each time, once, twice, 3 times now. Now, it is in a sideways range, so I like buying low and selling high up here on this sideways range long term. The thing that I don't like about this demand zone is I've noticed each time that it's gone into this area, it's tested once, tested twice, tested 3 times, and each time it's gone into the zone, it's gone deeper into the area of demand. So that's not something I really like to see. But right now, I would still like it for buying opportunities. And in fact, if we go down to the weekly, we will actually see a weekly uptrend. So if we go down to the weekly, right? If you're like, hey, I don't like trading the monthly, okay, well then trade the weekly time frame. Hey, you don't like trading the weekly, okay, trade the daily time frame. You have these really nice weekly areas of demand that you would be trading with the trend in a weekly uptrend with monthly demand in control. So I like those areas for buying opportunities as well. If we go down to the daily, actually, we were talking about this in the Sunday meeting, and I really like this daily zone right there. We were talking about that, saying if anybody can manage to pick up any long opportunities inside that daily zone, I like it. The profit margin is being cut a little bit with these little monthly or sorry, daily zones here and here. But hey, if you're just looking for these quick scalps on 5-minute, 15-minute, 30-minute time frame, then hey, that's all you're really looking for, right? You're only concerned about what's going to happen over the next day. Taking a trade on a 5-minute time frame, well, then you're only really concerned about what's going to happen over the next 4 hours, really, right? But if you're looking to hold a trade over the next month, well, then you're pretty concerned, or you should be concerned about what's happening on the weekly or the monthly time frame, because that's a bigger picture, right? So let's continue. Let's go to USD Yen. And actually, since we're here on the daily, I really like this daily supply zone here. I like it for selling opportunities for lower time frame scalps. You definitely got a big stack of selling, and this is something I want to see on every type of time frame I'm looking at. A big stack of selling coming in, right? I definitely like that area of supply that also broke trend lines, removed opposing demand zones. And with prices back up there, I think it's a cool area to be looking for selling opportunities in the USD Yen regarding the daily time frame. You know, in 24 hours from now, prices could shoot up and break it, or it could shoot down and respect it. I don't know. But as of I'm recording this video right now, I like it for selling opportunities. If we drop over or go up to the monthly time frame, actually, fun fact for you guys, if you guys didn't know, the Japanese yen, aside from like other currencies that absolutely crapped the bed last year, like the Turkish lira, the USD yen, or sorry, the yen was the weakest currency pair. And actually, let's pop it open. Load chart layout. And we'll check this out. This is telling me what the strongest and weakest currency is for the last year. Oh, well, we can delete that. We go over the last year and we can see the dollar has been the strongest. Canadian has also been pretty strong. But the Japanese yen right here has been the weakest overall. And we can see that obviously by looking at the chart here on the monthly time frame. It's gone nothing but up. So meaning the dollar is gaining strength and the Japanese currency is weakening. So when you have all these candlesticks moving to the upside, obviously it's going to be a pretty weak currency. So regarding the monthly time frame, if I believe that the dollar is going to continue to get stronger, then I like this monthly demand zone. You know, you're kind of waiting for prices to pull back into that monthly demand, or you're waiting for selling opportunities once prices reach that monthly area of supply. I don't like anything in here. Everything's already been removed. It's all wiki. That's the monthly outlook. USD Swiss monthly time frame. I don't see anything that really interests me. Really what I'm focused in on is this monthly and this monthly. Those are my two zones, and right now it's just dabbling in the middle, not doing too much, right? It's kind of fighting with the US dollar and the Swiss. What's the safe haven currency? So it's really just kind of going sideways lately. So I like that monthly area for supply and the monthly demand down in here because it removed areas of monthly supply previously, and it has a really strong move to the upside. So those would be my two zones that I have drawn out. For my weekly, I'm liking this little weekly zone right here, and we can drop down to the daily. And I know I said we weren't going to drop down to the daily because this is a monthly weekly outlook, but you know, I'm always looking at the charts, so it's just something I like to do. Areas of weekly supply that interest me are those two areas. Weekly uptrend, piercing higher, right? So you're probably going to get some type of buying action stepping in down here, which it has been, and then weekly supply somewhere up in here. Okay, we could go down to the daily. We can see the buyers really take control, right? Obviously, if you know that was your chart, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, and price just pulled back into this previous pivot point demand zone, And then regarding the daily, I also like that area as well. And then for supply on daily, I kind of like that area. Those would be my daily zones drawn out. Okay, let's go to, well, USD Singapore. It's nothing crazy, is it? Oh, well, I like that weekly. So weekly time frame, I like this weekly higher highs, higher lows, strong move to the upside. We got a pullback for the last 3 weeks. We're in an uptrend. Price bouncing off of demand, bouncing off the momentum line. I like that approach to be buying in here or looking for buying opportunities in here. You know what I'm saying? So let's go to Dow Jones really quick. Now, when it comes to the stock market, I believe this year is they're just going to do whatever they can to keep the market at all-time highs, right? If you've been selling this thing for the last couple of years, the last 10 years, you really haven't made any money, or you're making short-term money selling. That's what I do when it comes to selling the stock market. I like to be in and out on the 1 minute, 5 minute, 15-minute time frames. But long term, I don't think the odds are in your favor to be selling this thing on a 4 hour or daily time frame, because this thing is rigged to go up. They're going to continue to print more money. They're going to do everything they can to inflate the stock market to not let it crash, right? That's that's what the Fed's job is trying to do. Like, that's what they want. They don't want it to fail. So they're going to do everything they can to keep it at all-time highs and continue making higher highs and higher lows. So I don't think it's a wise idea. Now, do I think you just buy and hold? I mean, you haven't been losing money. You really haven't. But I would definitely be waiting for these 5% pullbacks and then look to add to your position if you are bullish the stock market, if you like owning these stocks. Now, I'm not a big fan of it because I think it's all a big scam, in my opinion, this whole stock market. So I'm not a big fan of just buying the whole Dow Jones straight up. I'm a skeptic of it. All right, I think there's better plays to be made out there, but don't try and call the top of the market when it's completely rigged and what the agenda is. You got to understand, long term, you're playing the yearly game. They do have an agenda here. Okay, so your technical patterns don't really matter. You do have to consider what the agenda is that they're trying to do and the fundamentals, right? Basically the same thing. So that's my thoughts on, Dow Jones, S&P. Play the range if there is anything, but I wouldn't be looking for long-term shorts. I really wouldn't be. I'd be more bullish this thing. All right. Something that is interesting, like even the UK 100, it's sitting inside this monthly supply right now. It's a lovely area to be looking for selling opportunities. This was the drop that was created at the start of 2020 when the whole thing started, and now it's back up into that area. I see this thing eventually breaking. I just wouldn't be looking to be selling this thing long term. If we go down to a smaller time frame, what you will see right here when we go down to it is higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. I don't want to see that happening. I need to see all those being removed, and I'm still a skeptic of selling this thing long term. Okay? So just be aware of the profit margin when it comes to this type of stuff. So here on the weekly, you got these higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs. All right. I could understand if somebody wanted to look for short-term scalps on 5 minute, 15, 30 minutes. Okay, I understand that. But dailies, I think that's pretty aggressive, right? Let's go over to oil because we're getting into the commodities now, and I do believe inflation will get worse over the next year, and I don't think the economy can handle 20%. What is everything up? I don't know. We could quickly look off the top of my head. Cotton, just year over year. I should have a graph for you guys, but what is it? Something like 50% cotton up 50%. Corn 10%. It was up like 30%. Sugar. I made a really good video talking about this inflation on my YouTube video, so if you guys haven't seen it, make sure you check it out. I strongly recommend it. You got sugar up. Where is this? As of now, it is, I want to make sure I get this right, up 16%. And then you have what? Meat up 20%, chicken up 20%. Like, you've got all these things up 20%. People can't handle that. And if you have another year of prices going up another 20% already stacked on that 20%, dude, they're going into a financial collapse and it could be very devastating. All right. So they're going to do everything they can to hide the inflation, whether that's shrinkflation, they're just continuing to print more money, which will just add to the problem, delay the problem for the next people. That's what they do. It's what they do best is kick the can down the road and they will hide and deny everything they can. All right. You just got to realize that and play the game with them. All right. You can either try changing it or you can try profiting with them. My opinion, I think profiting with them is a lot easier than going out there trying to change the world. Just my thoughts. So I do believe that those commodities are going to have quite a rally this year potentially. If we look at US oil is sitting inside, let's go to the monthly. It's just removing supply zones and it's on its way up. Like this is really the only supply area that I see on a monthly, and then obviously up here at 150 area. Besides that, it's just creating demand zones and respecting them, and we have to go down to a weekly to really see it. Right? We had a big drop off, relatively drop off, I guess you could say, on the weekly on November 1st, and it dropped down all in 1 month. It dropped basically 25%, but it's dropping back down into a pivot point demand zone, you know? So this, you're probably going to see oil continue to rise this year, in my opinion. I'd be very surprised if it's below. So I'm a believer when it comes to commodities, long-term buying. Okay. We look at silver. Oh no, let's look at gold. We'll also look at Bitcoin as well. Gold has been holding this monthly demand zone. I love this monthly demand. I think it's going to continue to rise. I think we will break $2,100 gold this year. Like I said, I think commodities are going to continue to rise across the board. That's the monthly demand that I have. I don't see any monthly supply holding. Gold is going to be your hedge against the inflation. So you will probably see gold continue to rise, but they don't want gold and silver to really rise. They're going to do everything they can to keep it artificially suppressed. More on that on my inflation video. I recommend you guys checking it out. But long term, I do believe this is anytime it's down here, 1800, 1700, it's a good area to be buying, even as it's way up. I think it's if you can buy areas of demand long term, I think it's a great area. The last big area that we were trying to buy at was back when it pulled back into that demand zone. And there was a 4 hour zone. Actually, we did get into it, but I got out so damn early. We were coming back down into the monthly area of demand, and I saw a very strong evidence of buyers stepping in, sellers being removed, and I bought the pullback when it pulled back over here, and then I got out, I think, right here. What was my take profit? And I think my other take profit, if I did have one, was right in that area. Well, obviously, if I managed to hold it, I would have done a lot better. Could have made a lot more gains, but hey, that's the game you got to play. So I look forward to adding to my position long term when it comes to gold this year. If I can manage to pick some buys up, even right now. Hey, you're looking at this as a 4 hour time frame for like a daily outlook. I love that area for buying opportunities, don't you guys? Higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. You got a very strong drop back down into 4 hour demand. I think it's a great area to be looking for buying opportunities on smaller time frames. It's actually what I was looking to do in silver today. I just missed my entry. I was looking at buying that. And then I think it was on a 5 minute time. No, it was 1 minute. Yeah, it was 1 minute time frame. I know we said we're going to do monthlies, but bear with me. This was my trade that I was trying to get filled on, but it just missed my fill by, I don't know, a couple cents, right? So it didn't manage to get me in, and then it took off. So that's all right. I still like that buying opportunity anyway, so maybe after this video or tomorrow, I will look to potentially get in a long position because I do like it. So even same thing with silver, right? Very manipulated. If you had to look at the weekly and monthly time frames, ultimately you really don't have demand until down in here and here, which is like weekly and monthly area of demand, which is also going to be a massive area of support, right? Big support line, big demand zone. The thing is prices really going to get down there? It could happen in the paper market, They could just flash crash this thing down, whip a lot of people that are long the paper market, whip them out of the trade that are heavily leveraged, and then take it to the upside. It really could happen. I wouldn't be surprised. But if silver dropped down to $17, you're not going to be able to pick up $17 silver for physical silver. You're still going to pay the regular premium of like $27. The premium will probably go up. So right now, how I'm playing this on a weekly scale, I've got a range drawn out. I've got this as my range. I like buying anywhere down in here, and I like selling anywhere up in here. You do have new areas of weekly supply that will be a little struggle to get through, like here and here. But ultimately, the supply up there is what I see being the top of the range. And I think what I see maybe silver hovering in a $28, $27 range by the end of the year. It could drop, but I just don't see that happening. And if it does, then it's going to be a flash crash, in my opinion. But hey, who knows, right? Just giving you guys my thoughts. It's in a sideways range for the last year and a half, really. So I like playing the range. When it's in a sideways range, buy low, sell high, buy low, sell high. That's kind of what I do. So Bitcoin, really quickly, let's look at it. Now, fun fact for you guys that are trading supply and demand methodology, we have never actually removed a monthly area of demand. You might be thinking, well, what do you mean? Well, based off of the four patterns that the supply and demand traders trade, we've never removed a monthly demand zone. Interesting to know. Ever since the creation, we never actually removed it. We continue to respect every monthly demand zone. And the last one that was created and respected was this one here in February 2021. You do have BTC inside a weekly demand. So if you are bullish this thing long term, then I think it's not a bad idea, or it's not a bad area to be looking for buying opportunities, I should say. So we did go over a lot of the Forex pairs, the stock market, what my outlook is with the dollar, with the stocks, what my outlook is with the commodities. It is all really important stuff, guys, to consider. You got to make sure that you are consistent with your process. If you guys did want to reach out to me on social media at MoneyballAustin, okay, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TradingView as well, or you can reach out to me on email. That will all be in the description below as well. If you guys want the free training of the supply and demand methodology, moneyballtrading.com. It'll have it all laid out for you, more about this system. If you guys want to join the Discord group and the 90-day challenge where I bring you through a struggling trader or a new trader to consistently profitable, I would love to have you part of the team, moneyballtrading.com. You get access to all the meetings, 2x weekly mentorship meetings, one-on-one meetings with me completely free, my watch list, trade reviews surrounded around other like-minded traders, the full package, the full course outline in ebook form and video form, quizzes, homework. It's amazing, guys. I'd love to have you a part of the team. I'm going to end it here, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Happy 2022. Let's get the year started, baby. Cheers.